September 14th, 2007. A massive queue stretches around the corner of a Northern Rock branch in Brighton. Desperate customers are rushing to withdraw their money before the bank runs dry. By that evening, time was up. To see the lasting damage of that moment, look at this chart tracking labor productivity since 2008. The top line shows the United States climbing 18%. Down at the bottom is the United Kingdom, which has grown by a mere 4%. If we expand this graph to project the pre-crisis trend line, the true cost to the average British citizen becomes obvious. If the UK had kept pace with its own historical trajectory, average real incomes today would be 31% higher. While the rest of the world navigated the shock, the UK's recovery stalled. The 2008 crash had stripped away the financial layer that was hiding a deeper stagnation in the country's physical industries. Economic growth depends on four basic inputs: capital, space, energy, and labor. In the UK, current policy actively blocks every one of them. The blueprint for the modern UK economy was drawn up in 1986. Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher introduced a deregulation package known as the Big Bang. It ripped up the rulebook for the City of London, intentionally shifting the weight of the British economy into financial services. On surface, the plan worked. International wealth poured in. But as the financial sector boomed, the traditional industries the rest of the country relied on were gutted. Manufacturing collapsed from 30% of GDP to just 16%, taking millions of indirect jobs with it. When the 2008 crash hit, public debt spiked. The new government under David Cameron responded with intense austerity, cutting spending on infrastructure, skills training, and research, the exact tools needed to modernize a stalling economy. 6 years later, the Brexit vote created a secondary shock, wiping an estimated 6 to 8% off GDP. Facing constant political uncertainty, private investment fell off a cliff compared to international peers. Britain remains a highly secure place to park global wealth, but its chronic lack of domestic investment makes it a difficult place to actually build a new business. Even if a company secures capital, they run straight into the second barrier, a physical shortage of space. Right after the Second World War, the government drew strict green belt lines around every major city, dictating that nothing could be built beyond those borders. Those laws remain today, placing a hard cap on how much the country's most productive economic centers can expand. A London salary offers a 14% premium over the rest of the country, but when you subtract housing costs, that drops to 1%. Moving south for a better job means rent eats your entire gain. Labor remains trapped in low productivity areas. A modern service and technology economy relies on clustering talent together, a process that Britain's planning system prevents through rigid land use rules. Beyond land, growing a business requires the third vital input: energy. Cheap power is the fundamental requirement to manufacture goods or run digital services. While the UK let domestic energy production decline, France rolled out a massive nuclear program in the 1970s, providing them with abundant, low-carbon power today. By contrast, the UK shifted to importing its energy. British businesses now pay some of the highest industrial electricity prices in the developed world, which acts as a heavy tax on every single thing the country produces. The government compounds these costs with the highest tax burden since the 1940s, driven by an expanding welfare state and a massive spike in sickness benefits. These taxes fall heavily on anyone doing reasonably well. In the US, you only hit the top tax rate if you earn 8 times the average wage. In the UK, it happens at just 3.5 times, punishing the very engineers and doctors the economy needs to retain. When you combine hostile business costs with a punitive tax code, young, productive talent simply packs up and leaves for Australia or Dubai. The frustrating part is that the raw ingredients are still there. The UK holds 4 of the world's top 10 universities, Europe's largest tech ecosystem, and some of the most important AI research labs on the planet. But an AI economy requires massive data centers and vast amounts of electricity. These are physical inputs the UK currently cannot provide, due to its own restrictive rules on space and power. Solving this requires a coherent long-term strategy. Instead, the country is facing its 7th prime minister in just 10 years. No politician's grand vision matters until the fundamental physical rules governing capital, planning, and infrastructure are completely rewritten. Most experts and politicians agree on the necessary reforms. The barrier to growth is no longer a lack of ideas, but the political willpower to execute them.